Thank you. Okay. So, I think the most dangerous phrase in language is, we have always done it this way. I say so because I think human beings have always longed to be innovative, creative, and wanted to do something different in every aspect of their life. As time goes on, human beings have also always wanted to outdo all their previous achievements. This is a key human characteristic. The problem is that we also find it real easy to get locked into a reactive mindset. You follow along with whatever is happening, you do what everybody else around you does. In a way, you get into a comfort zone that may not let you take risks. And there's nothing wrong being in a situation like this. But I think a more useful and pleasurable way of living is to be proactive, to be creative. And that can definitely help you pioneer ingenuity. It is also, of course, more difficult because it is easy to swim along the reactive way of life. But being innovative and being creative can be a very, very rewarding experience. Now, encouraging ingenuity, according to me, means encouraging departure from existing norms and values and stereotypes in our society. Creativity's main goal is to question old ways and to create and find new ones that may not always be fitting in the world we live in. Conformity and creativity, I think, run in two separate directions. I have been extremely fortunate to have received immense respect and recognition for the work I have done in the sexual health world and in the anti-slavery sphere. But I've also received a lot of criticism for my work. There have been people who raised their eyebrows. There have been people who, if not discouraging, were not particularly encouraging for the choice of work that I took on, especially being a female. And then there were some who chose to also call me weird. But all along, I've also had a lot of people who stood rock solid with me and supported me with all my decisions. And that includes my family. Now, I experienced this early on in my life when I was figuring out what I wanted to do and what career I wanted to have. Today, standing here and speaking is maybe a proof that the world needs many more weird people who are breaking barriers, who are wanting to do something different, and who love to figure it all out. What I've learned from my experiences is that this is my journey, not anybody else's, and I need to make the most of it. Best ideas, I think, tend to emerge by sensing, researching, thinking, rethinking, prototyping, and reframing. A lot of ideas at first may seem off base, but by rethinking and reframing, the same ideas may seem to look more coherent and feasible. And all of this needs to be wrapped up with passion and purpose. This is just how Love Matters was born. A breakthrough idea in the world of sexual health for young people in India meant looking at the ground realities, looking at what worked and what did not, and why. In other words, looking at the gaps, challenges, and unmet needs of young people. We all know that we grow up in a society which tells us that talking about sex is bad, especially if you belong to a good family and if you have had proper upbringing. Sex continues to be a taboo in our country, and educating young people about sex continues to be a controversy because it is set to go against Indian culture. The irony is, India also happens to be one of the first countries in the world that educated, talked about, and celebrated sex. It's quite an accepted fact today that the aptitudes, expectations, and learning styles of young people in the internet generation is very different from the environment that their parents and teachers grew up in. No wonder the market is full of digital learning platforms for all subjects, and the schools are embracing it all. Prior to the launch of Love Matters, in our research, we found that young people in India, as also worldwide, were using internet search that led them to pornographic websites to learn about sex. And we all know how pornography leads to sexist and unhealthy notions of sex in relationships. In our research, young people stated quite clearly that they wanted information digitally via internet and mobile phones without shame and embarrassment and without feeling judged. They wanted an anonymous environment, a safe space where they could ask their most intimate questions and critical answers to their sexual and reproductive health and rights concerns. So yes, we did pioneer ingenuity by embracing technology and using it as a powerful tool to guide our young digital natives into fact-based and science-based sexual health and rights information. Since the launch of Love Matters in India, we started off in India in 2011, and we've expanded to 4 other countries, Kenya, China, Egypt, and Latin America, with special focus on Mexico and Venezuela. We have had an astounding reach. Just talking of India, with more than 15 million visit base, with close to 1 million Facebook fans, we are currently the most popular and the leading digital source of information for young people on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Now, technology is a carrier and amplifier of content, but it is not effective without content that is well researched, conceptualized, produced, and this is true for print, digital, audio, video, all kinds of content. In fact, it is a problem if the content is not fact-based and misleading, then amplifying such content can do more harm than good. It is for this reason that we at Love Matters spend a lot of our time, energy, and resources on creating content that is very high quality, that is innovative, and that is absolutely fact-based. I think creating a culture of expression and speaking up is a key factor in employing personal narratives as a strong tool of advocacy. To share an example, during my sessions in schools on sexual rights and gender rights, and in conversations with school counselors, I came across a lot of first-hand accounts of young people in abusive and violent relationships without recognizing it as such. It triggered me to dig deeper into the subject of intimate partner violence. And what I found was shocking. There was a lot of material that was out there on intimate partner violence, but only in context of marital relationships. So, the next step for us at Love Matters was to conceptualize, design, and run a campaign, a campaign on intimate partner violence targeting young unmarried couples in India, and we called it the Beer No More campaign. We started a mapping process for our content strategy targeting the young online audience. What we recognized was that young people chose to stay in violent and abusive relationships because they thought violence was a part of relationship, because they thought verbal abuse was not really violence, and because they were afraid of being alone, afraid of their partner, and they feared being judged. So the main aim for us was to create content that could change and challenge these perceptions, emotions, and feelings, and therefore the behavior of the target group. We ran this campaign in partnership with Youth Ki Awaaz, and in 2 months we had close to 2 million people that we reached out to. As a part of this campaign, we also ran a blogathon. Every time a blog was posted, there were many, many more stories that people started posting of violence and abuse in their relationship at great length. As the tone of the campaign was set, it was quite evident from the response of the audience that intimate partner violence within this target group is a big issue, and they were on a lookout for a space where they could speak up. The campaign became a platform for emotional release. It demonstrates how basic outreach using personal narratives can have such desired impact. In particular, this campaign sparked conversation. it asks people to talk about and speak about the violence in their issues, acknowledge issues in their relationships, and in many cases also initiate action. The world is more malleable than we think it is, and it is waiting for all of us to hammer it into shape. Not my words, Bono said it, but I completely agree. Every era has its defining struggles, and for us, there are so many global issues that we are grappling with. This is the time for bold actions, and we are the generation that is expected to take some bold steps. So think about your big ideas, take the risk, and do not fear failure, because creativity doesn't thrive if you fear failure. I urge you all to think about your passion and purpose and stay tremendously interested in it. Thank you.